All right. Well, tonight we're gonna try to finish this off. I hope everybody's having a good night. Yeah, we're working on the piece that we started a couple weeks ago. This was our TMNT commission piece that I'm working on for my buddy, for his friend for his birthday. And you can see we've got most of the color down. We've just got to do a lot of finishing touches. We're going to put some acrylic paint on here. We're going to put some colored pencil, a little ink for some foreground characters to help create some of those layers. Um, there's some stuff that maybe you can't tell on the screen, that like this here, this dark area here is actually paint. It's not ink. This is done with a really thick Payne's gray. Thanks, Daniel. It's almost done. We're going to add some white in here. You can start to see where some of the colored pencil is. And I've got just little places here and there where I need to add some things. And it's stuff that you don't necessarily notice when you're looking at the final piece. Hey, Michael, good to see you. Excellent. There we go. Got our good opening. Hey, Martha, it's good to see you. I saw those character sheets you sent. Those look pretty cool. Tonight we're going to be using just all the tools that we have in the drawer. Like we've got colored pencil, we've got paint, we've got everything. I wanted to use a little extra orange, a lighter orange in here to bring some extra pop to Mike's bandana. We might use a little bit of yellow too. But yeah, this was our prelim that we started with. You can see there's the rough idea, and then here's where we're at so far. Oops. But we're getting there. I've got my watercolor paint for the people that are interested. These are Faber-Castell colored pencils that I use for, like, the touch-ups and stuff, but I like to use tubed watercolors. This is a Winsor Newton. My favorite are these Grumbacher, the Academy ones. I think that they work great. They last forever. I rarely have to replace stuff. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing better. But we'll zoom out at the end, like we always do. I always like to put a fixative on my watercolors. For people that don't know what fixative is, it's a spray material that coats the artwork and gives it a finish. But yeah, let's go in here. Mikey's bandana needs a little, and it's these little tiny details that you're only going to notice when you like zoom all the way in. Maybe I'm kidding myself that thinking people will notice this stuff, but I find it's important to the piece. Hey, Brian, how are you? One thing I am working on, and I've had some help with it, other than Undersea Hero, which we have continued to work on. 9 pages to go. Next week, we'll definitely be working on that on the stream. Need a red. Dark red. There we go. Yep, just a little shade. Oh, nice. Ideas are great. Keep them in the noodle. One of the things we do have to do is that because we've layered all this paint, like our foreground ink lines have really disappeared. So I've got to go in and basically pull out in the foreground. And I think I'm only going to do it for Don and then Mike, and then I'm going to let the others get pushed back. So you'll start to see. Again, some of these are things that you're only going to notice when you see the original in person, but that's who the piece is for. So I think that's the most important audience to think about. Thanks. Yeah, it's watercolor with a little bit of colored pencil. Like I said, I use the tube stuff. I like the Academy Grumbacher stuff a lot. The Winsor Newtons are great. Um, yeah, I'd use a process of underpainting. Let me see if I can pull up. I sent a picture of what the underpainting looked like so that the person who's getting it could see the process. But you can see, I don't know how well you can see it. This is the underpainting. See how it looks washed out? What it actually is just the tonality. So it's really just two tones and then the light being painted. And then I paint the colors on top of that. So it's two full layers of paint and then all this extra stuff that I add to it. You can just ask her to... Oh, the Kevin McGuire JLA cover. It is a classic, but I think we can do something original. I believe in us. I believe in us to not do an homage cover. Do it as a pinup or something, for sure. For the cover of the book, I like originals. Well, this is a particular technique. I mean, there's different ways to. This would be technically a colored drawing and not a watercolor painting, just by the methodology of which it was applied. My old painting teacher would rise from the dead and murder me if I called this a painting. She would not be pleased. Use painting technique, but technically, if we're going by, fine art practices, it is a colored drawing because it relies on the drawing. It's a what splits the two is a reliance on line, okay, and it is also just the technique in which it was created. Form and line are different elements of a piece. Hey, Jonathan. Good to see you, man. Yeah, I had to keep it moving in between. I had to work on Undersea Hero. I have to get this done because it's for a birthday. So got to get it out the door. Busy weekend though. I also, for anyone we talked about it last week, got taxes done. Those are all submitted. So small business taxes are no joke. So, but we don't need a repeat of last week's episode discussing those such things. Just thought I'd let you know with an update that they were done and submitted to my tax lady, and then I signed the paperwork, and then off they went. The real life stuff. Yeah, I like covers where people are hanging out, like just interacting. Scenes, it's more of a scene than like a pin-uppy thing. Anything. My favorite covers obviously are ones that have, either reveal or have commentary on what's going on inside of the book. Like they show a scene from a different angle. Some of my favorite covers of all time do that. But yeah, my friend Griffin in the old Dime Box comic did a pinup of like a bunch of public domain superhero heroes hanging out at a diner, kind of like a Seinfeld kind of gag. Jonathan, I did owe this year, but that's a good thing. That means I made some money, so that is okay. I didn't owe as much as I thought I would, thanks to my tax person. They're the expert. They have all the letters after the name and everything, so I did have a comic store reach out to me for free comic book day, but I may have to double check when the show I got asked to do out on the Cape was. I think they're the same weekend, but I don't know if they're both the same day. I'll have to take a look, but I'll put up a schedule on my website. But one other thing that's going up on my website, since we have so many people who are here on the stream that regularly are here, I am creating a groups page on my website, and it's kind of like a forum. It operates very similarly to like Facebook or whatever. It's like a message board. Um, so yeah, it'll be on my website on encnichols.com, and it'll be the Making Comics forum. And it's really going to be geared toward, just like we do here, people can talk about what they're working on. There's no advertising, it's all free. Um, it's a, I want it to be an alternative to these social media platforms where it's literally just like, hey, if you want to talk about comics or like specifically what you're working on, that's what I kind of wanted to be focused towards. Is yeah, you don't have to get bombarded by ads. You don't have to, your algorithm. There's no algorithm to point you towards stuff. It's like back in the old days of like the Yahoo comic book message boards or whatever, when you'd go and you'd pick a topic to talk about or go in and post stuff or talk about things, and it was more focused. So I found out my website provider could do that, so I'm building a page. Yeah, Michael, I hope everything's going all right. I did see that so Wild Time Comics was closing. I was surprised they were successful. Well, they're moving. They're temporarily closing because they couldn't get their lease situation squared away. And that's actually like the third store I've heard that from, like in the last year. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if like there's some sort of change in the commercial property laws or something, but I've heard of several comic book stores unable to come to terms on new leases with their landlords recently. They've been around for a long time, a long, long time. I was also just reading the rumors of Todd McFarlane buying Diamond Comics distributors, which I find strange. I just don't see there being any benefit unless he thinks that he can convince the Image partners to move all the Image books back to Diamond if he buys it. Because then they could have, for the partners books, like at cost distribution. Like they could no longer be, because if you don't know, back in the day, I know Image cut its own deal, and that was like what a seismic shift in the industry, which crushed some of the other distributors. Was when Image went exclusive with Diamond back in when they first started. So they had probably a much lower rate for their distribution, but indie comics used to have to pay almost half of cover price. So it could be Jonathan. Jonathan asked if it could be if rent's getting too high. It could be. I don't know all the specifics, but I was just surprised. Usually every year you hear of one or two shops that have, had that occur, but man, it's been a larger number this this year so far. And I pay attention to that stuff because, like, so many of the retailers around here, they would, you know, I would see them around. They'd carry my books. I'd do signings for them or whatever. I would show up and just, draw stuff for the store. Um, so it's one of the things that forever would scare me away from opening a brick and mortar comic book store would just be the rent. And you know, all of that and it's just a very, retail's really hard. I don't know. Selling comics, it's such a niche thing. I actually went to a flea market not too far from here and found a place that was selling comics for $2 a piece. Owner's super nice. Talked to him for a little while. Bought a stack of books. Was enjoying reading those. Sometimes I can't tell. Brian says it's the same in many hobbies. People go into a shop and see what's there and then buy stuff online instead of supporting their local dealer. Yeah, so that happens in like the model industry. Yeah. The only time I ever buy stuff online is if my store doesn't have it or if they don't want to get it for me. I'm from the olden times of like, my record store. If they didn't have a record I wanted to buy, they could always order it or track it down, and I would do that. Um, but that was the old days. Right now, I'm just reinforcing lines. I know it's not very exciting to look at, but it's important to the end piece. I am reacting to the light source. I'm only trying to do stuff on the opposite, but there's some that I sure up just for the heck of it. I inked and then watercolor, and now I'm adding a little bit of ink to pull a few lines out that got a little too much pigment on them, so it lost their integrity. I don't need to do it on all of them. It's okay to lose it on some, but like there's some places where it loses its separation for because of the lighting purposes or whatever. I do an ink drawing, I pencil it, I ink it, and then I do what's called underpainting. Um, It looks like this. This is where it's literally two colors where I use just Payne's gray to shade it, and then I'll use like a sun yellow or what is it, lemon, golden yellow and lemon to do the edges of the lighting. So like you can see where as the green, I'll pull it closer, goes closer to the light, there's more yellow underneath it and it ends with yellow, and then there's the white that is where the light is fully exposed. And I'll pull stuff out with um, colored pencil a little bit. I'll do a little extra shading here and there. I'm very aware that when you do a birthday drawing, they're probably hanging it up, so there's a chance I might have to look at it again. So I have to make sure that there's as little as possible where I would sit there with a drink in my hand, just ripping it to pieces. If I had a chance to check out the Laughing Shield comic book store in North Attleboro. No, I haven't. I have not been. I have been. I have not been to Attleboro in a long time. Nice enough place. I used to go there when they had their like quarterly little comic shows. Yeah, I know. I think you've mentioned them before. Do they carry mostly old stuff? Are they like explicitly a newsstand? Do they have a mix of stuff? Because I'm always looking for stores that carry the old stuff. I don't know. It's just me. Especially if they have dollar or 50-cent comics. It's like my bread and butter. So that means I can bring home a stack to read instead of like one or two. I actually quite like doing the watercolors. I wish there was maybe after Undersea Hero, one of the short stories I do will be in watercolor. I have not done a fully painted story since college. I don't think I did several in college. You get all the time in the world when you're in college. You get your classes done by like 2 o'clock. Go to the gym, have something to eat, then you got all day. I'm gonna get one of my favorite tools going, the old Presto pen. Organized back issues. Shocking. Gasp. Gasp. I say gasp. Annuals in the dollar bin always are the best value. Yeah. One of the things I did is like if you see where the horizon line is, it's like right here. So it's like 2/3 down. I have my water disappearing into the background. You can see that, and it disappears just shy of the horizon line. When we come back in with a little bit of white, and when legs are going through water, the most water being disturbed is like right at the forwardmost point as it's coming into the water. So that's why you see that like that. Yeah. A clean smelling comic book store. Now you're just talking crazy. Now you're just talking crazy. Next, you're going to tell me they have easily accessed restroom facilities for patrons. I shan't believe it. When I first started using this white, I definitely overused it. So I try to be very Water is fun to paint, I agree. Um, very selective about it. This was right here. There's our glimmer. A kids section. My God, these forward-thinking comic book store owners welcoming youths into their establishment. Poppycock. Pardon my harsh language. No, I mean the running joke is like so many stores where they're not welcoming. They smell funny, or there's a store not too far from here that when it changed owners, the first thing that they did was they blocked out the windows, and I'm not joking. A little water. And one of the things that I've learned just from doing it so often is that when you throw down a little bit of colored pencil on top of watercolor, and then you hit it with that fixative that we'll hit it with, um, it creates a different effect. There's actually a difference in texture that you can see. All right. Well, I'm going to have to go in. I'm going to tell them, that next time Michael DeFonte is in, they should give him a discount for the sales pitch. Are they paying you right now? Are you wearing a shirt right now with their logo on it? You're like, no. That's right. I'm gonna grab. If we got like a magenta. I have a giant box of colored pencils that I've had since I think high school behind me. Like, and I've never had to replace them, and you can still see they are. You can see I don't use them very often. I really just use them for like little bits and pieces on watercolors. I've never done like a fully rendered piece with them. I was never too crazy about the look of the soft colored pencil on my line art. Drawing water in black and white's fun too. You spend a lot of time just looking at the greater contrast points, and then really just using it as an organic like swirl for your composition. Like you can do all sorts of cool stuff with it, or you can use it the opposite way, and you can actually like have it be your negative space. Use the ripples for different effects. Like it's a lot of fun. Highest recommendation. Um, who's my favorite turtle? Like I've said many times, my favorite turtle is Leonardo. He is my favorite turtle from when I was a little boy. I can't say he's my favorite turtle now because I don't know. He probably is, just for out of pure nostalgia. I was gonna say because I haven't seen any of the new movies, even though the most recent one looked like a lot of fun. I just don't consume the stuff like I did when I was a kid. I agree. There are many a store that are not as helpful. It's a good way to put it. You're kind of on your own to navigate the vast quantities of back issues and such. I tell you, one guy, and I will. There's one that kind of like, and I'll mention him by name because he was always awesome with new people that came into his store, and it's a very small store, and it's cluttered, and it's the Million Year Picnic over in Harvard Square. The owner Tony and the other guy Adam that worked there a long time, phenomenal customer service guys. They knew where everything was. If you had questions, they were excited to tell you about local creators. They were You would walk in and you'd see the store and you're like, "Oh no, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find anything." And they would greet you. They would, I mean, yeah. Tony is just awesome. And I'm not wearing a shirt of theirs right now, and they're not paying me. They honestly, I don't think they've carried my stuff other than mainstream stuff like the Tick in a while. But when I first started out, he was one of the first people to be like, "Yeah, man, bring me your book. I will put it in my store." Big supporter of the local art scene out there in the Cambridge area. And that was, I tell people this story because this is what it was the truth. I would bring uh, a spreadsheet book, like a columnar pad, on the train, and I would put out a route, and I would hit every comic book store in the city in one day. And I would bring my books and I would show it to them. And it was like being a door to door salesman. And, a lot of the times it would be on consignment and I would have them sign a piece of paper that's, it was like, "Hey, I'll come back in, a couple of months. And if they don't sell, I'll just take them back." And then, but Tony, his store, he would buy them at wholesale. He would buy them right off of you. And he'd be like, "Nope, you don't have to come back. If they don't sell, it's on me," which was not the case at a lot of stores. Oh, Martha said, "I'm trying to train for speed with my art. If I can get quick, not having time to draw won't be such an obstacle." Yeah, it's a delicate balance. I have experimented myself with lighter technique and things, but I have come back time and time again for especially for commissions and covers. I have a hard time being too simple with the stuff. I don't know why. I look at artists who I admire a great deal, like Chris Samney, who, if you're not reading Batman and Robin Year One, you're out of your mind right now. That book is awesome, and Chris Samney is just such an incredible artist. Love Mark Waid's script, but yeah, the Samney and Wade team, I'll buy anything they work on, and it's phenomenal. Michael says, "Million Year Picnic is amazing. I have not been there in decades. I went there in the 90s and found so many great things there." Tony always has art books, back issues, indie stuff. Yeah, it's one of the greats. Um, for supporting indies, them, Rubber Chicken. I will always mention Rubber Chicken. Um, that one I couldn't take the train to when I was a kid. I had to, either get a ride or hop in the car and go. But Jay there and all the guys were just super supportive. And then there were the ones that would just tell me to take a hike. I remember there was one store when I was young and taking my stuff around. And I rarely, I can't say never, but I would say I would very rarely would ever show up without calling in advance because, and you never go on a Wednesday because that's New Comic Book Day. And you never go on a Saturday because sometimes that's the day the boss has off. Um, but I remember calling ahead to these two stores, and one of them I showed up, and I showed him my book, and he said, you know, Ed McGuinness used to come around and show his little books off too. And I was like, oh, okay, so he's a guy that supports indie books. And he closed my book, handed it back to me, and he said, I said no to him too. So you're in good company. I got in my car and I left. I thanked him for his time. I left him with probably like a postcard or something and headed on down the road. But that was an interesting experience early on. I don't believe that store is in business anymore. Um, Shocker. The middle section of the Laughing Shield has comic racks with indie where they are carried by different distributors. Awesome. Yeah. It's one of the things I do when I travel. If I travel, I'll look up to see a comic book store, even internationally, and just want to find stuff that's being made locally because you can't get it anywhere else. Uh, One thing I've started doing and revising some of my technique is instead of credit card all the time, I now use these plastic. I found a use for old badges from conventions. I use them for spatter instead of credit cards, and it's easier to do. I'll show you. Get this bleed proof white. Oh, this is Presto white. Got our badge here. Just put a little bit on there, just a little bit. Just give it a flick. See that? See how much easier that is than the credit card? You don't have to use as much. I think that's plenty. Oh, it happened to Doug too. Goodness. He had a parallel story. Guy turned down TMNT when it was an indie book and told me how he regretted it. Then he turned mine down. Yeah, yeah. And I still say to this day, I think a much larger percentage of the buying population of comics is either a creator, be them indie or professional, um, like aspiring, or they know one directly. Like every store has their in-house creator that everybody that works there knows. I firmly believe that. I got to pull this line up. It's driving me nuts. So I think that's. I don't have any like hard numbers on that, but I just have a lot of experience, and I've seen so many stores where they have someone local that's their creator, or there's a pro that hangs out, or there's someone there that shops, and yeah, I just think that the direct connection, the access of the fan base to the creative talent creates a different relationship with the product. Not everybody's not there are people that don't know anyone, but I think there's a large number of people that are in that boat. Well, Martha's ran out of data. Gotta hook up to the Wi-Fi. It'll save your data. I do want to put just a little bit, like a single line here. And again, there's already white here, but when it hits that fixative, it'll react differently. Use a new AOL disk under a different email. All of us olds get that reference. Seven hours free of the AOLs. Free with your subscription to Cosmo this year. Print only. I actually think they gave away AOL discs in Wizard magazine. I remember when PlayStation magazine, I don't know if anybody remembers this, they used to put demo discs in with their magazine, and you could play like the first few levels of a bunch of new games. It was pretty cool. Back when I played the videos games. Brian says we got so many AOL discs, we used to use them for coasters. Coasters, and then I actually knew someone who used to like hang them on the wall of their room. All right, let's take a beat here and take a look at where we are. I remember what was left that I still needed to do. We might even have an early exit tonight. Although that will just mean I'll take it outside and spray it and finish it tonight, which would be good. Means I could get this sucker in the mail. Not tomorrow, but Friday. I could get it in the mail Friday. Am I going to C2E2? I am not. I don't think so, no. I missed the application deadline for that one, and I'm sure they're all sold out. But I will be very active on applying to stuff for next year's cycle. With Undersea Hero will be done, and I need to get that puppy out on the road, so. I saw that Gem City announced their new venue. They're going to be changing places. There will be a show this year, but I don't think I'll be at this year's. I'm going to bug the promoter there to be back next year, just because I love that show. We want to continue to support it. It's another great 2-day comics only awesome Midwest show, and their drink and draw is probably my favorite after show anything party get together thing, because all the artists go, guests, artist alley, people who pay for tables, people who are paid to be there, and it's all to raise money for public school art program, the local public schools art program. All the money goes to that, so it's very easy to support buying art supplies for kids, for me. Buying art supplies and food banks. Food banks are usually my go-to. Hey, Dennis, voice actor, comic creator, internet personality. Dennis Dietrich joins us. Did I see you had an anniversary? Happy anniversary. I believe I saw that on my feed. Was it an anniversary or birthday? I might be confused. As Homer would say, confused, would we? Yes. You're welcome. Dennis says just had a pretty big gig release as well, and more in the works. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. Feel free to drop a link if you like. See you, Marthas. Thanks for popping in. Have a good night. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I think that works with this piece is that I think that it's mostly believable. You know, some of the anatomy is not perfect. But with the colors, the lighting, I think the cartooning and the faces, I think it sells uh, what I'm looking for. Oh, a Fortnite event. We were just talking about video games in the old days, like PlayStation Magazine and such. Yeah, TMNT I liked as a kid. And as you can see, I draw more of the old-fashioned version now. Now that I'm just doing them for myself or friends. I tend to draw more of the. I still like the animated adventures designs. I'm happy to draw those if somebody asks for them, just because I had to learn the style guide. I think they're beautifully designed, but anytime I'm left to my own devices, it's kind of a merger of Mirage, cartoon show, a little bit here and there. Thanks, man. Yeah, I did the full drawing, I did the underpainting, and then we're doing the touch-ups tonight, and then we'll get it in the mail so that it's hopefully there in time for this guy's birthday. And there were some people that asked nicely if I was doing commissions. I'm not open for commissions. This was just one of those rare exceptions where it was a friend. Um, you know, one of the like 6 people I think that I would stop working on Undersea Hero at all to do something for them, and I'll be back on it, tomorrow. But what I did think to do, because I honestly like I have a hard time lately with doing commission work, like single pieces that go out. So what I've decided, I think what I will do is I will make pieces and then just do art drops. and then they'll be available on the website. If they sell, great. If they don't, it'll probably be characters I like or pieces I like because I'm not feeling rushed or whatever. And so I think that's how I'm going to do it in the future. I don't know if I'll be doing like custom drawings for hire in the near future. I think I'll draw stuff I feel like drawing because, when I do commissions, it's after all my other work is done at night when I'm really tired. And, sometimes I just want to have a night off or whatever. But sometimes I just want to draw what I feel like drawing. And if I can do that and have pieces that people, could potentially acquire, then great. That I would be fine with. But going from like job 1 to job 2 to job 3 in a day is a lot. So I appreciate it. It's very kind that people would want to acquire a piece of art that I did. I'm very fortunate for that, but I just don't want to set myself up to make anybody upset with how long something takes or whatever. I try to avoid that whenever possible, and I feel irreconcilable guilt when stuff takes too long. Just wander around and feeling guilty. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that, Brian. That's very nice of you to say. Well, at conventions, what I'd rather do, it's a whole different beast. Like there are times where I'd be working till 1, 2 in the morning in a room, and I'm just tired of doing that. So if I can invest the time ahead, have a bunch of pre-done pieces, and then just do little sketches at the show, that would be ideal, I think. And like I said, I'm starting a forum on my website. You can actually sign up for it now. I'll post a link here. It's still a work in progress. I'm still developing it, but I mean, the idea is that it's just like my making comics panels that I used to do at shows. This would be the making comics forum, and it works just like um, any other social media platform, but there's no ads. Um, I'm going to be posting my process work and stuff there. I don't know how far it's going to go. I might post exclusive stories there. We'll see. Just depends if people use it or if it's just me talking to myself. So it's not fully launched, but for people who are interested or want to sign up for it when it's more developed, I'm working with some people that know more about technology than I do. I just tweeted it out. Oh, that's right. You can't see it over on Facebook. That means I have to open Facebook. I have to mute the tab. Go to my page. This is riveting. There you go. Just put it in the comments. Hopefully. There we go. And I'm letting you guys know first because it's it's a new thing. You guys support me a great deal. You're here all the time on, these streams, and it'd be a way for us to interact, during the week. And I know that there's an app you can download for Wix, my website builder, that will give you function just like any other social media app. Or you can, not. But it's totally free, and I'm just looking for someplace that's not so I don't have to see everything that pops up on social media and still have that experience of connecting with folks. It doesn't mean I'm like closing out my social media accounts or anything, but I'm looking to enjoy my time with my friends. I think we're in pretty good shape here. Just a little bit of peach orange in here. I thought about adding like steam coming out of the pizza, but I couldn't figure out compositionally how to make that work. And I didn't want to use the same like bleed proof white. And honestly, like the white colored pencil technique is not super viable on this. At least that isn't usually. Yeah, no. You wouldn't be able to tell what it is. It would be maybe that's better. Maybe I can. Yeah, no, you can't even see it. Mike says hopefully he can get his website up and running again when I can afford to and have time to work on it. Yeah, it's tough. You know, it's one of those where I find little bits and pieces. Actually, Allison is helping me out on that groups page. She said she would be one of the moderators over there for me, which would be great because then I'd get to talk to her more. But I think we're in pretty good shape here. I think we can probably call it a night. I'll show you the fixative that I use. It's right here. I'll try to be. Let's zoom out. I can't spray it in here, otherwise I will inhale a bunch of spray. Let's see if it'll. There we go. Get up in. That's as high as she'll go. So Raph's kind of behind the count there, so move it down and you can see that part. Maybe if I turn it sideways, it fits that space better. We can all turn our head to the left. Everyone left. Yeah. Grab the fixative. This is the fixative that I use. It's a Winsor Newton. It protects drawings from smudging and dust. It also is a matte finish. So when you hit it with the matte finish, it'll get rid of some of these variances that you see up in this area. I like this one. This is the Winsor Newton series for professionals. Yeah, it's good stuff. I bought this at Riverside Artwork. You see it cost like $13 and some odd cents. It's a place over, it's a locally owned, family run art supply shop that is in Somerset, Massachusetts. But yeah, that's going to be the stream for the night. We finished this piece. Thanks for being on this journey with me. For the you got to see where's the prelim? Here it is. You got to see the prelim get drawn, and then all the way to the finished piece. So thanks again, everybody. I hope you all have an excellent weekend, and be well, and I'll see you next week. Good night.